And welcome to season 2, episode 20 of the QCast. Thanks for tuning in once again, everybody. And this is another fun one. This is one of my favorite guests. We're getting to the point where there's been some repeat QCast guests, and I have the head coach and the general manager of We Are D3, Mr. Mike Rejniak. Mike, I believe we have you somewhere in Wichita, Kansas. Is that correct?
That is correct, Bob. Hot. Thanks for having me. Always love talking with you. It's awesome.
You too, Mike. And I was looking back, we talked almost exactly a year ago. It was a few days before your game last year. And first of all, let's talk through the logistics here. When did you arrive in Wichita? When did the team arrive? Let's kind of talk through all of that first.
Yeah, I flew in on last Friday. Just kind of, it was like $100 cheap or whatever. All the players, came in Saturday, so I was here to kind of greet them, and then we pretty much have been practicing, Sunday morning here throughout. Everybody came in, various, from every which way and every direction of the country. So they came in at different times on Saturday. And then we really kind of got to work, seeing them all together on Sunday morning. And now it's Tuesday. So we've already had, 5 practices and a scrimmage that we're going to have this afternoon. So we've been rocking and rolling here in the heat, which has been great.
Yeah, hot times in Wichita. I think you said 106. I got 108 in Dallas, which is nuts. So
you can see my complexion and skin really likes it. I'm going to be like a potato chip by the end of all this.
You look good, my friend. You look good. And Mike, just first of all, Mike's, for those of you that don't know, one of the real good guys around Division III basketball, has held a number of roles around Division III and truly knows our division about as well as anyone. He's worked for some great people. He's been a part of some impressive programs. And right now we're here to talk about We Are D3. And I think, Mike, this is go around number 4 for team We Are D3. Is that right? 4?
Yeah. The only year we missed was the COVID year, which at that point they were still running TBT, but it was a little bit sketchy. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay home with my kids and see how this shakes out. So year 4, season 4, year 5, if you can call it like that, something like that.
Absolutely. Tell you what, I mean, the team has played incredibly well. Just thinking of the last couple, last year you played Team Challenge ALS. That was a 7-point game that was, believe you led at halftime. Boeheim's Army in 2019, that was a 3-point loss. Led at halftime. And I guess Division III Nation, it begs the question, Mike, these halftime adjustments. I mean, what are we doing in the locker room there? We're going in with the lead, we're losing. What's happening here?
Trust me, with the well, now that I've sat on this for now, another year, I gotta wonder, maybe my halftime adjustments, they're just as the coach in me, you always preach, I'm watching, I'm like, what adjustments did they make? And, we do, I think it's just even, I think last year looking back, it ended up being a 7-point game in Elam, but during Elam, it was a 3-point game.
Right.
It was a lot closer than the 7-point, Boeheim's Army saying, I think for whatever reason, we just haven't started the second half as well as we should. And I think that's been a point of emphasis. I think this whole TBT, how to coach in it, the brand, the talent you play against, there is a significant learning curve to it. And now, year 4, just from a logistics planning, what you can put in, what you can't, how do you get the most out of the guys with the minimum time? I think the second half adjustments, I'm coming in with tricks up my sleeve, even more so than usual, just because and then also maybe we just go down by at least a point at halftime, and then maybe we change the narrative that way. But
I'd like
But
you to like
something
maybe
that like we've talked a lot about as a staff, and trust me, my kids and wife haven't let me forget about it for a whole year. So I'm looking forward to
well, don't
kind of getting
overthink
that.
it. Don't come out in like a boxing one or some crazy stuff. Like, let's just play good basketball. I'm sure your halftime adjustments have been great. The other teams played well in the second half. But the point being, in all seriousness, this squad of D3 all-stars has played incredibly well against high-level Division I guys. Think about who you've been playing against. This year will be no exception in round one. So you're in the Wichita bracket. This Friday, you play at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 Central. The game's on ESPNU. So once again, this is a game that D3 fans don't have to go to a streaming device for. Like, turn on your TV and there they are. And you're playing the AfterShocks, which is a team of Wichita State alums and people connected with the program. They advanced deep last year. They lost in the championship of the Wichita bracket. So your draw is very tough again. What do we know about the AfterShocks, and kind of how are you approaching the game Friday, Mike?
Yeah, I think our draw, and like, this is where the whole reason why, one of the reasons why I do this, and one of the reasons why, you do the QCast and you're so involved in the D3 community, we know we're not an 8th seed. I know that. To the outside world, we will be forever David versus Goliath.
Right.
TBT loves David versus Goliath because it's a story, and which I'm fine with. We got to go through every team anyways. But I think, like, with the AfterShocks, they're all, outside of maybe Ron Baker, who's not playing, but these are all the players from those Greg Marshall teams that made it to the Final Four. So the level of attention to detail that we have to not only guard their players, but also how to execute against them, has been even ramped up even higher. Very similar challenge to the last couple of years. Year one against UCLA, we're just kind of figuring out, but ever since Boeheim's Army and Challenge ALS, which has about like 5 or 6 NBA guys, like, the level of preparation that goes in is no different. I think it's just even heightened more, and knowing that we got to be the best of brand of Division III basketball that we are. I think they're gonna, no matter who we play against, maybe they're an inch taller, although not, to be honest, not this year because we got size. But they're going to be a little bit maybe more seasoned, older. We are a young group outside of like maybe 1 or 2, which has been the goal in comprising the team. Looking at the team last year, everybody was new except for like maybe 1. This year we have returners along with some new guys sprinkled in and some guys from previous teams coming in. So like, having that leadership and familiarity with the TBT and with the crowd that we're going to face, because a lot of them have already played in Coke Arena, which is wild. Like, there's going to be like legit, 10,000, 11,000 fans, and maybe two D3 fans in the stands, which maybe I can make it 4 if I fly my wife and kids in. But it is what it is, and I think like, that's where for us we really embrace the challenge. But I think getting here early, prepping the week, not only just kind of getting familiar with your surroundings, but also the heat and how you play and with one another. We're going to be in a good spot. We're still not where I want us to be, but we're light years ahead of where we were at this stage in years past. But it's kind of just like the constant turning the screw and tightening everything up.
You've got a special kind of mission this year, a player that's been added to the roster, and that is the late Justin Hardy. Saw you guys made a nice tweet about that. I thought that was really, really cool to see that, that story that Justin Hardy, that incredible story that he brought to Division III this year. And his unfortunate passing and after just an unbelievable battle. For you guys to be thinking of him, I think you're going to maybe wear something on the jersey for Justin, but talk through the inspiration that your squad of D3 guys has taken from Justin Hardy.
Yeah. Well, it's twofold. Like, and I know this, I know the D3 hoops guys know this, but the amount of preparation that goes into just this team and comprising it is years in the making. Like, as you know, like I watch a ton of Division III basketball, so I'm very familiar with all the players, and we comprise like lists of saying, hey, this is a really good sophomore group, these are 5 sophomores. Justin Hardy has been on our list for years because he was so good, and I'm starting to tear up because like literally I got to know him through his journey. And we would text back and forth, and DM on Twitter. And, when the season was kind of going on and we were going back, I was like, hey, we'd love to have you on the bench in Wichita and so on and so forth. And he continued to, so we talked throughout everything. And, as a father of 2, and it's like, just like, I hope my son or daughter is just a shred of an inspiration of what Justin Hardy is to me, and kind of to wear him on. We're going to be wearing HardyStrong on the back of our jerseys. Is an unbelievable honor for us to have him with us, because he would have been with us. I really believe he would have been on this team maybe this year or the next year, because he was that level of player and had that character, and I think that was shown throughout. What makes it even further special is Devon Rucker, who was his teammate at WashU, is also like, so there's a lot of different things kind of going on. And I think like really to be playing for the division, but really to be playing for one of our brothers is really special. And it's like literally, I wish we could do so much more, and I want to do more. And I think like maybe this is something that we continue to have him with us throughout this entire TBT journey, because like I think his story deserves to be told. And I think like representing that for our guys means a lot, and it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the players. And Rucker was telling some stories about Justin, how he was as a teammate and things on those lines. And to have that insight, I knew him from a peripheral coach, watching him play, getting to know him perspective, but to see somebody that was in the trenches, with him, that's pretty special as well. And obviously the Hardy family, is very special. Just kind of their approach to everything, is really touching, and just to have him with us is an absolute honor, and it's the least that we could do.
It's very, very fitting too, just the timing of everything and the story from this year. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that, like someone attack something so head on and with so much positivity.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, how well he played while he could play, like I traveled this.
It was crazy. Like I'd be watching like from my basement. I'd be working with NCSA, and I'd be talking with some pro teams and agents, and I turn on the WashU game, on a Friday night or a Sunday morning, and he's like the leading scorer. It was like freaking wild. It was like I cannot fathom the amount of strength mentally, physically, obviously, to go through that and to attack it. Like, it's just unfathomable. I don't know if I could do that. And so like, he is a better man than me. And really, to be honest, like, I don't think I've ever met a better person that has attacked it like that. It was crazy. Just to watch him play, and, WashU had that great run, and what a great team. And it was so fun to watch. It kind of, you could tell he had so much joy playing. And I think that recenters all of us in today's busy society. It kind of recentered all of us, and to put in perspective what's really important. And it was crazy just watching him
Absolutely
attack it.
Yeah, the mental strength side of it, because you know that physically, I mean, there wasn't a moment this season that he was in great shape physically, and
Yeah.
I traveled to St. Louis in December to watch Illinois Wesleyan and WashU, and I mean, he was the best player on the floor. He was the best
Yeah.
player on the floor with stage 4 stomach cancer. So our prayers continue to go out to Justin's family and his friends, and it's just awesome that you guys are making him part of this, because it's incredibly fitting. Talk about a little bit, Mike, getting this group to play like a team. That's really tough when you bring in guys from different places. You've done a great job at that. When I've watched the 3 previous games, the team has made all of Division III proud in the way they play the game, the way they share the ball. How do you make that gel? It's, like when you go to the Final Four and you watch the All-Star game, that's really, guys are just getting the ball and shooting. It's not a great basketball game. It's great to see that start, but you're playing a real game with a lot on the line. How do you make that all happen?
It's a lot. It's like, I've always taken this team like, it's one game, ish. But like the preparation that goes into it from a team bonding perspective goes way back. Like the year, like we start talking with players, and kind of as we kind of get back from TBT, we detox, we talk about what went well, what didn't went well. And then I start kind of thinking about, well, who do we want? And we have this list, and who do I want back? And then we start Zoom calls, literally while players are overseas in Israel and Kosovo and all this stuff. We start the Zoom calls to get familiarity both with me, the coaching staff, each other, like in January and February. Now that's like 3 or 4 months before even application. Like, and then you start doing, like, I've always approached this as like, when I coach college and when I work for David Hickson and at Amherst, all this team bonding, camaraderie stuff, we approach it like that to bring them together. Because if we do just roll out the ball, we fly in on Thursday night, play Friday, like some of the teams do, we're not good enough for that. We got to be polished, and they got to be acclimated to one another. We do a lot of like when we're together, like a lot of FaceTime stuff with one another, like simple things like when we're at dinner, no cell phones, like, and they just like talk and get to know one another's stories, because a lot of them have different experiences, and we help out one another. Like one thing, the whole reason why I got started with this was when I was at Amherst, and Coach Hickson and myself were trying to get these great players like Andrew Olson and Fletcher Walters and Brian Biskowska, and all those pros, Aaron Toomey, trying getting them pro contracts. It was like pulling teeth, and these are some of the best players at any division. So to be able to share stories with one another and get them together, and how to help one another with agents and pro teams and things like that. A lot of FaceTime, a lot of practice time as much as possible. When it comes to practice, a lot of it is not so much what I put in and what Coach Harris or Coach Clark put in. Like, it's like, these are really bright kids that see the game, that do things the right way. So really, I just say, hey, here's the set, you guys play, and it's just constant reps of playing with one another, and they get comfortable, and they're sharing the ball more. And the way we comprise it too is you got to have that quality of our kind of mantra this week is like, be water, like where water goes where it's needed. So like, these are players that are water in their own right. If we need a rebounder, they're okay with filling that role. And that's kind of how we look at with comprising it. If you're just a guy that just holds the ball on a string, it's not going to work with us. It's just, we can't have that. So a lot of just playing within one another, within the constructs of X's and O's in practice. I just love just letting them say, hey, here's the constructs of the drill or the X's and O's. You guys just play. And I think that's one thing that I've learned throughout TBT is to not overcoach this group, because these are professionals. They're not a college team. These are professionals. They don't need me to teach them, yeah, well, I touch nuances, but they don't need me to hear my voice all the time, because they know what goes good, they know what doesn't go so good, and they make adjustments. So a lot of playing within one another and getting to know one another off the court, makes us have the edge.
Talk a little bit, Mike, about your roster this year. We won't go through every player in tons of detail, but if you have the roster in front of you, let's talk about who are the returners and who are the new guys. Let's start there, and then I'm going to have a few questions for you about some of the guys.
So the returners, DeQuan Brooks, who played with us last year, point guard Eric Demers, from Gordon, who played in the G League. Daniel Rosenbaum is a returner. Adam Fravert from UW-Oshkosh is a returner. I'm trying to Devon Rucker from LSU is a returner. Eric Smith, is a returner, but he was from Syracuse, so 2 years back or 3 years back now. Newcomers, Jordan Robinson, who played at North Park. Jared Houston, who plays at Emerson. He's actually coming back for his master's degree. Bobby Hawkinson from NYU, and Brian Cameron, who played at Wesley, who played in the G League this year, but Wesley's now closed, but he played at Wesley. So we got about 6 returners, 4 newcomers.
That's a good mix, right? If you continue the franchise, it's really healthy to have this mix that you've developed of returning players and then new blood every year. Doesn't that give you a nice kind of energy when you've got those new guys coming in every year?
And that helps with the familiarity. That's been the goal all along. It just hasn't panned out the last couple of years because contracts are happening left and right. But now we have this pool and we're starting to get the flywheel going. That's really nice because those returners bring the new guys along. And it's we've been involved with these players when they were young pros. So now Fravert's a year into his pro career. Phenomenal. Rosenbaum's now older. These are players that are now more seasoned also, and we got them in when we were young, when they were young. So they're going to be with us. Yep. As long as they keep want to play with us, by all means, have them with us for sure.
Just a couple guys I'm going to kind of pick out. Jordan Robinson from North Park. I mean, as a CCIW fan, I got to see Jordan play. And I mean, this kid, 6'3", 2'3" guy, I guess you'd call him a shooting guard. But I mean, he is crazy talented. How has he looked so far in your practices, and what is Jordan Robinson bringing to the table?
Yeah, Jordan Robinson is one of those guys that's been on our radar too for a while, but he got kind of hurt with the COVID transition. He graduated kind of right as that COVID hit. So a lot of teams now weren't looking at D3 guys. So he ended up playing in Kosovo, which isn't the best basketball, but he did his jam. And so his biggest question was, yes, I know you're talented, but you also been playing against kind of people that I think my 6-year-old son could beat. It's, yes, I understand you average 30, but he has looked really fluid with us, and he does bring a different mentality to it because Coach Harris, who's coaching alongside me this week from UMass Boston, calls him he's got that junkyard dog in him. He's very tough, very physical, and he's an elite scorer. So he's been bringing a different kind of flavor to our team that I think others don't. That's his kind of role of being tough and physical, and he had a phenomenal year at North Park. That last year, I remember watching it. It was crazy. So he hasn't lost anything. He's just gotten stronger, and now he's just more seasoned. So he's looked good with the guys, and I think he's definitely going to fill a role for us. And I look forward to him. He's one of those kind of X factor players for us for sure.
Probably the breakout player last year, probably not the right term because we already knew he was tremendous, but the guy that played great was Eric Demers, your guard. And boy, did he play well for you last year. It led to a lot of great opportunities for him. What does Demers bring to the squad this year?
I mean, everything, like, I mean, like, and I think like one thing that's deceptive about Eric is Eric Demers, everybody thinks he's just a shooter, and he is not. He can ball handle. I think he's picked that up even more so, refined it when he was in the G League. His passing has improved. He's just more seasoned. Like he was another player that coming out of COVID had nothing. Took the year off. Didn't play pro, just worked out. We took him. He had a phenomenal game. And basically, I really think he started to kick open that door for Division III pros even more. Because the amount of calls that I've gotten this year about G League, Europe, about Division III, it's almost like, I've become more of like an intermediary between agents and teams and things like that. Because largely it's because of what we've done, but Eric Demers kind of being so successful at that elite level, now teams are starting to be more open, and Duncan obviously, and you can kind of go through, but Eric, I think, started to kick that door open just a little bit more. And I think like he's going to be Eric and be phenomenal again. He's shown it all week in practice. The cool thing about Eric is he's okay with being a target because, he's that elite player and he's used to it. I mean, he's been used to it since Gordon. Like every night at Gordon, he was the leading scorer in the country. On Friday, he's arguably our best returner. So like, he's fine with it. And, I love how he embraces the spotlight like that. He's comfortable with it.
One of my favorite players on the roster, and this goes back to his playing days at Oshkosh, is Adam Fravert. I think he's such a unique talent at 6'8". I don't know if you call him a 3 or a 4, it doesn't really matter. He can really do a lot of different things. He can rebound it, he can score, he can put it on the floor. Talk about the role of Adam Fravert on this team, Mike.
One of his most underrated abilities is his shot blocking. To be honest, he has just such a knack for it. Like, and like, he is like a 6'3" guard in a 6'7", 6'8" frame. Like, and he's comfortable getting rebounds. Like, he strokes it from, 3-point range. And then, yesterday, like, he gets a backdoor cut and just kind of crams it. Like, he's just a very, kind of unique type of player. And we've talked about it. He's just quintessential. Like, what I love about, kind of those elite Division III players is that he doesn't have just one thing that he does. He's not just a one-trick pony. Like, he is truly a Swiss Army knife. And if you take away the three, okay, then he's going to go high IQ and be a big. If you take away his post moves and cutting, well, then he's going to shoot a 3 in your face. He's talking. He's constantly challenging me as a coach to think outside of the box, which I love about this team. Quintessential like D3 smart kids, like I have to get a PowerPoint presentation to explain like what works and what doesn't work. And, like I got to think, like they challenge me, which is great, which I love about it. Fravert's one of those players that, his mind, like he's done the play, he's already 3 steps ahead of you. And I think that's what made him so successful with, Pat and Matt at Oshkosh. And, kudos to Pat Jugham for recruiting him because, and Matt Lewis, because he was on staff at that time, because that is a talent that in my opinion is very tough to match. And he proved it this year when he was a pro overseas. He really grew as a player.
The kind of talent that leads you to Fort Wayne, leads you to cutting down the nets.
Yep, pretty much.
And then one other player, just to call out one more new guy, and I got to call out this one because his father grew up literally, I think, a block or two from where I grew up from in Oak Lawn, Illinois. But Bobby Hawkinson brings great size. You've got great size, and one of those is Bobby Hawkinson from NYU, had a tremendous senior year. How's Bobby been playing in practice season? What's his role on this team?
I tell you, like watching him on film, like he was straight in our crosshairs for targeting, because Division III bigs, very tough to come by. And so like we honed in on maybe 4 or 5 that we really wanted to look at, evaluate, and recruit. Bobby, lefty, strong, poised, finished, and to do what he did in the UAA this year against teams like Case Western, which had a phenomenal year, Wash U, Emory, obviously, Brandeis, talk about a gauntlet. And for him to be on everybody, top player on everybody's scout report, and do what he did is what caught our attention. And the fact that he's lefty, he's agile, okay to mix it up, rebounding. He's gonna be, and he just graduated. He hasn't missed a step. He's already been a pro, in my opinion. We'll see him play against some other pros, later this week, but he's already playing like a 2-year pro or 3-year pro, because just the amount of work he's put in. And I think really junior into senior year, he really grew as a player in training. But he's going to be with us for a long time, I can see, because he's awesome. Being able to have bigs, is very refreshing for us.
Absolutely. Mike, one of the things that's cool about We Are D3 and what you guys have been able to do in battling some of these D1 loaded rosters, all of us that are close to D3, it's important to us that people understand that the talent level is off the charts. And so there's been a lot of things the last few years that have helped We Are D3. I think of the transfer portal stuff as much as it's frustrating, but I look at Illinois Wesleyan's roster this year. Team just last year, Luke Yoder is now a Division I player at North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. Matt Laritz is a scholarship player at Division II Bentley Elite 8 team. Pete Lambesis is a Division II player at Trevecca Nazarene, or will be. Luke Yoder on scholarship at Division I NDSU. So then you've got We Are D3 on TV on ESPN and ESPNU showing everyone. Do you feel like, as a D3 guy, do you feel like the things that we've seen the last few years, including what your group's been able to do, is starting to change perception and continuing to build the D3 brand in the way that we all know it should be?
Yeah. I think the whole purpose when I got started with this was I just want to bring awareness and help benefit our players to showcase kind of what we're about. And I think all that stuff that you talked about, as much as the transfer portal is the purest basketball in me, I would, as a coach, if I was still in college right now, I would probably look to exploit it. But if you're one of those programs that, you do your job recruiting and they're an All-American, they might transfer. It's starting to trickle down for us, which it's a kudos to all the coaches out there that grind and recruit and find these spots. I hope that Division III doesn't become just like a farm system. I understand graduations and things happen, COVID, and by all means then go on to play it. I don't think it should become a feeder system. I think as long as players get opportunities to play pro that want them coming out of Division III. And that's kind of why we do this. We want them to have those opportunities. So as long as that continues to evolve and the notoriety, it's really cool for me to see, We Are D3 stuff, the shirt you're wearing, on people's trucks and things like that. That's right. To see it out there, because it's not about the brand of We Are D3. like, it is like one thing I've always loved about Division III and why I coached in it for 16 years is because the family of it, the family, it is a very tight knit group. It's like when you went to yeshiva this year, all the guys showed up, and if I wasn't working, I would have been there with you. You know, like, it's one of those things where it is such a tight knit family, which is awesome. And we're passionate about our basketball. I think we're passionate about the student athletes that are a part of it because they tell stories. Justin Hardy tells a story. Rucker tells a story. Hawkinson tells a story that is very unique because these are players that are essentially paying to play basketball and get a great degree. So I don't know how much love you have, but like, you got to love something very much. And they treat it with reverence and they treat it with respect. And, you know, I think like we're just playing a small part, and I'll continue to fight the fight, and I'll continue to tweet on socials, all that types of stuff, because like, I know how good this is. You know how good it is. So now we're continuing to fight and change the narrative of what's been happening for like 80 plus years or whatever of Division III, so that these players can have the opportunities just like everybody else. That's all I want.
Couple more questions with Mike Rejniak, the GM and head coach of We Are D3. And thanks for all your time, Mike. I know you guys are busy preparing for big game Friday. Two questions as we start to wrap up. The first, players that are interested in joining We Are D3. I get an occasional note on Twitter from someone that says, how do I get on that team? And, you know, I usually just say, hey, go, you know, contact this guy. Here's his Twitter handle, shoot him a note. What's the right way for a D3 guy that's pursuing the professional route that wants to play for you? What's the best path?
Yeah. That's a great question. Chances are, if you're good, which I'll pretty much everybody that contacts us is good, I know about you and I've watched you play. Right. So know that I've watched you play. I'm such a D3 geek. I got like 4 games going on, and I'm writing down X's and O's that Marietta runs, and I'm like, oh my God, look at what Ron Rose is doing at Illinois Wesleyan, and you know, like, I've watched you play. I think contacting me at Coach Reg, you know, Twitter, Instagram, or at We Are D3 TBT on those handles as well. Having film is an important thing, especially if you're a pro. Having film, uncut, but also I'll take literally whatever. I think also in the future, and Coach Harris and myself have talked about doing like almost like to expand the brand and expand the opportunities, is doing almost like a pro day, where literally everybody flies into a central location. Maybe it's UMass Boston. We'll bring in the G League scouts, we'll bring in agents, we'll bring in pro scouts, where like literally then we can get some live evaluation kind of going on, because that's kind of, I believe, the next step. And we've already in talks for next year doing that for like maybe the last 2 spots on the roster or something like that. But at least giving those D3 guys that even can't be with us an opportunity so that they can get in front of the eyes that we are on Friday in front of ESPN. So like providing that opportunity as well, we're looking at that for next year. I think a lot of it just, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's how the roster is comprised. And sometimes there's a log jam. There will always be a log jam at the guard spot because Division III has elite guards. But I think being a pro, that helps. Having film helps. Being selfless in how you play and how you are as a person. Because I'm going to talk to your college coach. I'm going to talk to your teammates. That's the goal with Bobby. I talked with the whole UAA. What can you tell me about Bobby Hawkinson? You know, and I'm talking, you know, with Pat at WashU, and I'm talking with McGinnis at Case Western, and you know, what is he a good dude? Did you like playing against him? You know, like, you know, just kind of like normal research stuff. So I think just contacting us with film, we add you to our database, we sit down as a staff, and we start kind of just combing through. And, you know, eventually the funnel comes down to those 10 Next year, we'll probably keep 11. So that does open up another spot. And, with the pro combine, I think is another opportunity to help these guys have opportunities. Even if they can't be with us, they're at least I'm helping them kind of on their journey.
So realize, folks, that coach, he's not just a random dude that's waiting for you to send in an application. This guy is stalking you. He's watching you and he's asking questions about you. Is that fair to say, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's like the old adage, like when you're a coach, you can't make mistakes. I can't make mistakes on a roster of 10. I really have to. I can't. If I do, we're sunk. So I think that's where stalking is probably a fair enough say. And I'll probably look at your Twitter and Instagram, and if you act like a knucklehead, that's not looking good. All that types of stuff. Yep, stalking is a fair word.
I just thought of another question before I ask you a final question about the AfterShocks. In my role as the chief rabbi of New York, I would be remiss to not ask you about RT11, and I know that Yeshiva Nation and Division III Nation would love to see a We Are D3 squad with a Ryan Turell on it. I realize he's coming off an injury right now, and this wasn't the year, but I assume one of the players that you're stalking is the kid with all the hair at Yeshiva. Is that fair to say? Could we potentially
totally
see
I've been
him on this
him
team?
for 2 years,
right?
And his journey, I think he's such a special person and player. I've enjoyed kind of texting back and forth with him. I enjoy watching his moxie when he plays, and I think that fan base, I would much rather play in Wichita against the AfterShocks than play at Yeshiva versus Ryan Turell, because they are relentless and they are brutal and they're passionate fans, and I love it. But yeah, no, Turell has an open invite with us. Open invite. I'll make a roster spot for him. I don't care. He could be coach, player. I don't care. No, but I think with Ryan, the timing just hasn't worked out. Last year, we looked at having him with us, but he's coming off of a college year where he needs to rest legs and things like that. And, going against pros, I understand that. This year he had the Portsmouth League and then got injured and he wasn't going to be ready in time. So kind of like how he has probably an open pro contract waiting for him in Israel. He's got an open invitation with us. And I would love to, he'll be with us someday. And then you'll see also maybe the We Are D3 in Hebrew, and we'll use all the funds. That is $1 million idea from Coach Harris, and I'm trademarking it right now. Coach Harris said, let's do that in Hebrew. We'll sell it all over Israel, and I love it. So when he's with us, whatever it looks like in Hebrew, we'll do that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these Yeshiva guys, you get Turell on this team, and you will have 3,000 people there at Coke Arena next time around. I mean, trust me, these guys are crazy.
It will be pay-per-view, and it'd be amazing. And then all of a sudden, then we battle the AfterShocks. It'll be literally half of the arena will be AfterShocks, and half will be Ryan Turell Yeshiva fans, and then D3. It'd be great.
I'm with you, man. I think it's brilliant. I mean, look, I got them coming to Illinois Wesleyan November 12th. They're coming up. I mean, I'm no dummy. We got to fill that place up.
So you're becoming now an agent. You're the scheduling, you and Ryan. You guys are scheduling gurus now. You're playing fantasy matchups. Who do we want to play here? And I love it. It's great. It's great for the brand. I think it's great for Division III basketball.
Whitnable created a tournament where he basically had the entire Final Four come to his tournament, right? So, yeah. I mean, it's the least I could do to set up a game or two here or there, because this guy's crushing everyone with tournament matchups. So kudos to Ryan. Hey, last question for you. The AfterShocks are going to have a ridiculous home court advantage. You're playing in Wichita, Coke Arena. It's loud. How do you prepare your team for what is going to be a big crowd and a hostile crowd that is not rooting for We Are D3?
Yeah, and I think one thing I love about Wichita is they're so passionate fans, so passionate. Probably about the best basketball quote unquote town I've ever coached in or been in. people come up to us all the time when we're out and about in Wichita saying, "Oh, see you on Friday night," but they're like really nice about it. Like, it's not like in New York or Chicago where like literally you have to watch your back and you're like, I don't know about this dude. But like their crowd, they'll shut off the lights when intros happen. So like they'll be like, and we are D3 is coached by Jason Harris and Michael Rejniak and David Clark. And then the lights shut down. You'll see it on TV. Only like it'll be lighted with like all cell phones. Okay. And then they'll do their intros and it's going to be loud. And the way Coke Arena is shaped, it's a bowl. For those that haven't experienced it, it's a bowl, and just it's like a monsoon of noise that just comes down on you. So basically all the play calling that I do that I've been working on all week, I have to have nonverbal communication so that they know kind of what's going on. But these are professional players too. And like they're used to being in an enemy territory. I think that's the benefit also to having the returners coming back, because not only are they familiar with the arena, but they're familiar with the environment. Even though, like, I mean, Eric Smith played up at Syracuse in Syracuse versus Syracuse with Boeheim sitting front row. And we had 4 We Are D3 fans, my 2 best friends, my wife, and my two kids. That was it. And then the rest was just a sea of orange, and it didn't affect Eric whatsoever. So like these are professionals, and like, will I in practice, crank up the music to like, the Skid Row main all the way up to volume 11? Totally, but like, I think like that's where, this isn't a college team. This is really a professional team. And I think that's where these guys have excelled, because they've been able to excel in those types of environments. Very tough to mimic. And yes, it's going to be an X factor a little bit, but I liken it to like at the end of Syracuse, when we were in that game and it was like a 1-point game in Elam. And then, the foul happened and they made 2 free throws to win it, which since I talk about this every year, but they've changed the rule because of us.
Right. I know.
But I think it was kind of like the ending in Rocky 1, when Rocky fights Apollo. Apollo still wins, but the fans were behind Rocky.
Right.
And that's what it was like at Syracuse. I'm liking it to Rocky 2 this year, where Rocky gets the dub. But I think like that's where it's tough to mimic, but they're pros. It's they're the X factor, but take it or leave it.
Well said. It's going to be a tough environment. The guys are ready. And so look, D3 Nation, we've got a big ball game Friday, again, 9:00 Eastern. Last year, I recall the game being Friday at about happy hour time. I was cracking a beer. It might've been about 5 o'clock. This is prime time here, folks. I mean, this is 8 p.m. Central Time. ESPNU, We Are D3 taking on AfterShocks in Coke Arena in Wichita, Kansas. Mike, you have been very generous with your time. Always, you're a favorite of the QCast. You're somewhere on the list of the most frequent guests ever. Mike Schauer is the lead. Ron Rose is second, and then it's Mike Rejniak. And that's got to be a big deal for you to be so high on that list of QCast guests, correct?
I listed on my resume. I'm not looking for a job, but I have added that line to my coaching bio. That's awesome, for sure.
Dude. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. Folks, that is Mike Rejniak. He's one of the really good dudes around Division III. Mike, your closing thoughts here on season 2, episode 20 of the QCast. What do you have for the fans as we let you go?
Yeah, no, like really just thank you to you, and thank you to all that you do, the brand and the fans and the support. Like this has grown to something that I never thought it would. But it's really cool to see the growth and the passion behind it. And like we're a family. Like I think that's what has made this D3 thing so awesome, is the fact that you are so approachable. I'm so approachable. The Hoopsville, Ryan, Whittable, we're all approachable because we're all in this together and we all have a passion behind it. So like reach out. Thank you for all the support that you guys give us. get loose on Friday night. Cause like by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're already a couple in, you're feeling good. You're cheering loud. It's great. Maybe that's the vibe that I get. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the second half adjustment. Maybe I got to have a cocktail. Who knows? But that's where have fun, enjoy, and just know that the whole reason why we do this is for you guys and the players. And we really appreciate the support, and I can't thank everybody enough for the love and, kind of helping our brand and you guys getting out there and all the support. I really appreciate it. I love talking with you. It's awesome.
We appreciate it. And look, I'll say this to D3 fans as we close, is this group of 10 players and the coaches, they ain't getting rich over this thing. I could promise you that. They're playing for pride. Yeah, there's the zero right there. It's just like going to a
people
D3
think
school.
like we get paid out of this. Like they definitely don't know Division III, because our budget is
Correct.
Negative. You know,
it's like going to play for a Division III school, except you're not like going negative, where you're paying like 60 grand. At least this is sort of a break even zero. And so folks, they're doing this because those guys would desperately like to put a W on the board, multiple W's on behalf of Division III, right? They're just like us, and they want to build the brand, and they know how good Division III is. And so I would just say, tune in, show them some love, get on Twitter, whatever your favorite social outlet is, support the guys, and it's going to be a blast. So Mike, thanks again for joining me. Good luck. And we will all be cheering you on, my friend.
Thanks, Bob. Be well, brother.